Yeehaw! What's going on, guys? It's me, Jimmy here. So guys, you can tell by the title of the video, today we're going to be talking about Wild Guns Reloaded for the Nintendo Switch here. Nintendo Switch. So guys, I am most definitely excited to talk about Wild Guns Reloaded. So without further ado, let's actually jump into some gameplay of this game. See on screen for a little bit, shall we? Holy flippin' heck, guys. So yeah, as you guys just saw on screen, Wild Guns Reloaded is a space western shooting gallery game released for the Nintendo Switch, Steam, and the PS4. Guys, honestly, this game is pretty much a blast. So, I guess in talking about this game, I should obviously mention the Super Nintendo version of this game, which was released back in 1994 by Natsume. It's pretty interesting to note that this is a enhanced port of that game for the modern generation. And honestly, I mean, those retro 16-bit graphics look absolutely stunning in a glorious 1080p on the Nintendo Switch and the PS4. They look absolutely stunning. The explosion effects look really gosh darn great. This game honestly just really good. And I guess I should talk about the history of this game. So, in talking about the history of this game, I should probably mention the history of the 1994 original. It is pretty fun to note that this game, the original, was actually created by a core team of about 3 to 5 people at Natsume. It's pretty fun to note these people are the same people that also worked on the Ninja Warriors for the Super Nintendo, or Ninja Warriors again for the Super Famicom, which is another game that it sounds like I should be covering on this channel soon. And yeah, development lasted about 5 months, and the game was slapped out. And honestly, this game looks absolutely stunning. As you guys may or may not know, this game does take some really heavy influences from steampunk, and specifically the anime called Cobra, which if you guys haven't seen, I highly recommend. It's a pretty gosh darn great one. And yeah, there's really not much else about the information of this game and its history, the port itself anyway. So without further ado, let's jump into the graphics, shall we? So, as I mentioned earlier, the graphics in this game, they look like a really pretty up version of the Super Nintendo game. So essentially a 32-bit port, I would imagine, or maybe even a 64-bit port. So like maybe a Sega Saturn version of this game is what this would look like. And they look absolutely stunning. The sound design is, listen to that soundtrack, guys. It is great. Those Western influences, that spaghetti Western, is just so great. Oh, guys, I don't think you guys really understand that Ennio Morricone influence is so amazing in this game. So, guys, the sound is great, the music is great, the explosions always look amazing in this game. So yeah, the cast of characters in this game are pretty gosh darn rad. Annie and Clint essentially being the same character, and then you have Bullet, which is a dog who has a robot, and you also have Doris. Good old Doris. Doris is by far one of my favorite characters to play as in this game, just because of her playstyle being so wildly unique to everyone in this game. But we'll get to that in just a bit, shall we? And yeah, guys, this game, really, that's pretty much it for the story. Bounty hunters, they're out to avenge the death of Annie's family, and yeah, that's it. So I guess we should kind of move on to the next section, shall we, guys? Let's actually talk about the gameplay. Now this is where the game truly shines, along with the graphics and the music. So guys, what's this game like? So if you guys have ever played Blood Brothers or Cabal in the arcades, you've pretty much played this game. This game pretty much plays like that. You control a character on screen. If you shoot, you can actually move the reticle while you're shooting, but you can't actually move and shoot at the same time. There is actually a button dedicated to that, and that is the jump button. If you press the jump button, you do a small dodge roll, which leaves you momentarily invulnerable from enemy shots. You will be using this quite a bit. Also, the game does alert you when you have shots coming at you. Specifically, the character tells you to look out. And yeah, guys, I would pay really close attention to that because this game does get pretty wild with some of the bullets on screen. There is also a very, very, very nice variety of weapons in this game. From the Super Nintendo port, some of the weapons don't appear here anymore, but they appear in a slightly different manner. So now you have a laser in this game. You also have a grenade launcher that fires a plasma bomb, which is honestly a much better improvement over the regular grenade launcher that you got in that game. The laser is also an extremely fun weapon to use. It is a little bit frustrating that you have to drag the laser around because it literally lags a bit. But the fact that it deals a very, very nice steady amount of damage honestly makes up for the lack of the weapon's mobility. And you also start off with a basic pea shooter. If you play as Annie and Clint, you start with a basic pea shooter. Bullet also starts off with one as well. Both Annie and Clint, as I mentioned, play exactly the same. Both characters have a double jump, so does Doris and Bullet. You can change trajectory mid-air when you use that second jump. You will definitely be using that to correct a lot of mistakes you'll be making, especially once enemies start lobbing bombs at you. Speaking of bombs, enemies do have the ability in this game to throw dynamite at you. And, oh boy, let me tell you right now, chose a wrong day to do that, my friend, because our characters can throw those bombs right back at you. And honestly, it is oh so satisfying to launch dynamite right back at an enemy that had just threw it at you. As I mentioned earlier, the pea shooter and all that, you can shoot around on screen. What I didn't mention is the fact that there is a whole risk and reward system in this game. What am I talking about, you're asking? Well, I'm glad you asked, my dear hypothetical viewer. So in this game, if you notice on the bottom here of the character's portrait, there is a gauge. What is that gauge, you might be asking? Well, every time you shoot bullets on screen from an enemy, that gauge fills up just a little bit. But oh boy, let me tell you, if you fill up that gauge all the way, guys, you unleash the almighty Gatling... Wait, what? V-gun. V-gun. Something was called a Gatling gun. Huh. Anyways, you get the Gatling gun in this game. The Gatling gun deals a massive amount of damage to everything and everyone on screen. It absolutely destroys the stages you play on. Every character has access to this with the exception of Doris. Doris's gameplay is slightly different, as I mentioned. So, Bullet, Annie, and Clint get used to the Gatling gun. I guess from now on I should talk about the two new characters in this game, and that is Bullet and Doris. I'll start off with Bullet. Bullet is a small dog who is actually really, really nimble, and he's actually the only character in this game who can move while he shoots. He also has the ability to dodge roll as well. He also has an interesting option for mobility, where if you can actually use a third jump being that you can latch onto your little robot buddy to fly around on stage to escape some very, very hairy situations. Bullet, instead of having the reticle on screen that he can move around while he moves, his robot does stay stationary, but has a much, much, much bigger targeting reticle than Annie, Clint, and to an extent Doris. Filling up his V-gun is actually a little bit more difficult to do if you ever play as him compared to the other three characters. That's pretty much it for Bullet. Next up, let's talk about our friendly neighborhood tank, Doris. Doris by far is one of my favorite characters to play as in this game, and to be honest, she is a little bit unruly in this game. Doris has the lowest movement speed out of all the characters, but instead of having a normal dodge roll like all the other characters, Doris has a dash instead. which is honestly pretty gosh darn cool and does take me back to Mega Man X, which honestly isn't a bad thing, guys. Doris's dash is not invincible though, so she is open to attack after she stops dashing. She does have a lot of cooldown frames that she has to deal with, so you can't automatically dash back the other way. So it does leave you open to being killed. Talking about that though, as I mentioned, Doris does have an interesting gameplay style, and that is the fact that she lobs grenades at everyone. And holy crap, guys. Holy crap. So with Doris, it is absolutely easy to get a really high score. That is based on the fact that if you ever hold down the shot button with Doris, she charges up her grenades, and the more she charges it up, she lobs more grenades on screen. These grenades, if they ever connect with an enemy, they act as a multiplier. And holy crap, guys, this is one of the things that's not really talked about in the Wild Guns games. But if you ever play as any character, and if you shoot anything while not moving your character or dodge rolling, you get a multiplier per enemies killed. This is pretty much the key to getting high scores in this game. Unfortunately, with Annie, Clint, and to an extent Bullet, it's a little bit more difficult to do, especially when enemies start moving around, or you know, they start firing at you, and you can't shoot down all of their bullets to fill that V-gun trigger. It becomes a little bit more difficult to get multipliers. That's why with Doris, it is exceptionally easy to do with. And honestly, if you're ever feeling in the mood to just destroy everything, and you know you like explosions, or you're a big fan of Metal Slug, then yeah, I absolutely recommend Doris. Just realize though that she is pretty gosh darn difficult to use. Doris, as I mentioned, has 2 jumps. She also has 1 special attack as well, compared to everyone, and that is the fact that if you jump and if you press the shot button, she lands down an explosion of electricity and mayhem. And honestly, guys, it is pretty badass to do that. It is pretty interesting to note that the enemies in this game range from robots to other cowboys and tanks and holy crap, giant enemy crabs. Yes, giant enemy crab, guys. I said it here. It is pretty interesting to note as well that there are a couple enemies that will literally come towards you on your plane and try and stab you. Hell, I mean, even the main boss does it to you. So in this game, there are a couple of difficulty options. There's obviously your easy mode, there's a beginner mode, there's a normal mode, and there's a hard mode. Honestly, guys, once you start getting really good at this game, honestly, just stick to hard mode. There's really no point in going down unless you want to play the other stages that you can't access normally while playing on the higher difficulties. Because yes, that is a thing in this game, unfortunately, and that is the fact that based on the difficulty settings of the game that you play on, you get slightly different stages, and actually entirely different stages, I should say, that you get to play on and you fight bosses on and enemies. So if you play on a lower difficulty, you get the original 4 stages that you got on the Super Nintendo version of this game. But if you play in a higher difficulty, you get a castle stage with a very interesting gimmick of there being black fog that obscures your view. And if you play on the highest difficulty, you get the new airship stage, which honestly, guys, is a boatload of fun to play on. And plus, it's extremely easy to fill up the V-gun. I'm talking extremely easy. You're guaranteed to fill it up at least twice in this stage. It's also fun to note that all your characters have a bomb that they can use on screen to clear out shots. Unfortunately, unlike the Super Nintendo game, the bomb itself doesn't actually cover the entire screen. It only covers a quadrant of the screen. But if enemies are on this part of the screen, they will be damaged. This unfortunately has led to a bit of unfortunate events where characters and bosses walk out of the explosion, or, you know, it just misses them entirely, because that is a thing that will happen to you every once in a while. So hey guys, the stages themselves are an absolute blast to play on. As I mentioned, if you play on lower difficulty, you get easier stages, you don't get as many enemies on screen, they don't fire as often. If you play on the higher difficulties, you get the much harder stages, but you also get brand new stages to play on, which honestly is a ton of fun to play. The airship stage, quite frankly, being one of my favorite stages, along with the final boss stage, because the final boss stage does have some of the best music in the game, along with the airship stage. And honestly, guys, it's just a ton of fun to play through this game. So guys, you did it. You finally made it through. You're at the final level of this game. Here you are. And as soon as you reach the final stage, this is what you're greeted with. Yeah, that's right, guys. The beginning of the final stage treats you with two of the mid-bosses from the first stage of the game. And holy crap, guys, honestly, it's not too bad to get through them. All you gotta do is use that lasso, as I mentioned earlier, freeze them in place, and just blast them away until they're gone. And then next up, you move further into the base, where you fight even more mini-bosses, and it is truly a test of your skill. It's pretty much a gauntlet at this point. That is until you reach the the door security system, which is quite frankly one of the easiest bosses to fight, because essentially all you have to do is this. So guys, this is it. You finally made it here. Final boss. You're in this room, you're ready to blast him away. You're ready to avenge the death of Annie's family. Let's do it. Holy flippin' heck, guys. The final boss in this game is an absolutely brutal experience. You have enemies firing at you from all sides of the screen. You have the final boss who can literally shoot a line at you. You have these turrets that come out on screen that will literally shoot at you as well every once in a while. The boss also literally throws up fireballs into the sky that land down and explode, and every once in a while that explosion will turn into a flame pillar that you can't get across. And yeah, it's extremely difficult. Though the boss is not that bad though, because he does come at you as well after he throws dynamite towards you as a player. He will throw dynamite. You can use that dynamite to clear out some of the minor enemies. Once he comes at you to try to swing at you with his gun, you can swing at him beforehand, send him straight back to where he comes from, right on his stupid couch. And after that, you finish the game, you destroy him, and that's the end of the game. Or I mean, he blasts off into the sunset. So guys, what are my thoughts on this game? I mean, did you see it? This game is badass, guys. This is one of the best games I've played. How could I put this? This is an absolutely stellar game, guys. This is one of the best shooting gallery type games I've played in a long time. Does it surpass the original in terms of quality? Yes and no to an extent. There are a few minor hiccups in this game that I really don't like, such as the fact that if you ever play on multiplayer, all the characters share lives, so you have a pool of lives. I also didn't mention the fact that this game does have up to 4-player co-op play. As I mentioned, unfortunately though, all characters share a pool of lives, and that does lead to a lot of one player carrying the entire game. And that's pretty unfortunate, but the difficulty does increase, so that's the thing as well, because there's no difficulty increase if you ever play on multiplayer. Plus, too, if you do beat this game, you do unlock new color costumes for each character, which is cool, I guess. It's a nice little reward. But beyond that, though, honestly, guys, this game's not too expensive. You can get it digitally and physically for the PS4 and the Switch. You can also get it just digitally for Steam. And this game pretty much goes on until all the flippin' time, and you can get it for about 20 bucks now. I pretty much recommend it. It's a really solid game. Plus, too, I mean, it's better than paying the hundreds of dollars for the physical cart on the Super Nintendo. Or, you know, you could just do what I did and just hack your SNES Mini. I mean, that's what I did. You can just hack this little guy and put wild guns on here. That works as well. But if you're looking to support Natsume, I highly recommend this game. Pick it up brand new, pick it up digitally. It's only 20 bucks. You're in for the time of your life. Plus, too, did I mention I'm in the top 50 on the Nintendo Switch version of the leaderboards in the world? Just something you learn every day. And, as I said that, I was knocked down, not even on the leaderboards anymore. It happens, right, guys? So, guys, thanks for tuning in to my review. And hey, guys, remember to stay absolutely radical, alright, guys?